Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight for our live webinar on stress and anxiety. I'm just going to give everybody a few minutes to log in. But tonight we're going to be talking about stress and anxiety and just, a little bit more about the science behind the stress, the cycle of stress, how that affects your body, how that affects your life, how that impacts your nervous system, and what that means for your overall health. So first, I'll just take a second to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Victoria, and I am a chiropractor here at Tree of Life Chiropractic. We specialize in pediatrics, prenatal, and all things family, which includes stress and anxiety, because as you know, that's something that is definitely plaguing a lot of us as a society lately. So our intentions of doing these webinars are really just to provide you guys with more information and more education on different topics that we see a lot of in our office, and then just different topics that we're passionate about as well. So after watching this webinar, if you guys find that this was helpful, and if you think of anyone who might need to hear this information, please don't hesitate to share that with them. So let's just kind of dive right into some different aspects of stress and anxiety. So I just want to rattle off real quick a couple of common symptoms that we hear a lot about from people with anxiety. So anxiety symptoms include lack of body awareness, so much muscle tension, feeling like you're on high alert, that you can't shut off your brain and sleep deeply through the night, that feeling of panic, or that pit at the bottom of your stomach, the heaviness in your chest, the shortness of breath, the fast heart rate, headache, pain and tension everywhere in your body, low energy, brain fog, constant fatigue, and just feeling trapped within your own body. So those are just a lot of common symptoms that we hear from people with anxiety and then people with high levels of stress. So almost all diseases start with stress. And you can think of anxiety as stress stuck on and stress in this vicious cycle. And we're going to talk a lot more about what that means here in a minute. But if this stress is left unmanaged, it can just become this never-ending cycle of stress. So stress has three different forms, and I've talked about this a lot. If you've watched any of our other webinars, we always talk about the three forms of stress. So those three forms of stress are physical stress, chemical stress, and emotional stress. So some different examples of what physical stresses are any traumas that you've ever had, falls, injuries, postural stresses that get placed on your body. Those are all physical stresses. Chemical stresses could be things like environmental toxins, the different foods and drinks that you're having, the quality of water that you're drinking every day, any medications that you're taking, stuff like that is all chemical. Emotional stresses are all the thoughts that we think. So either positive or negative thoughts, they all have an impact on our emotional health. The relationships that we have, both with family, with friends, with significant others, those all impact our emotional health. And again, that internal dialogue, everything that you're saying to yourself every day, is it good? Is it positive? Is it negative? All that stuff impacts how your body is handling stress. So our bodies are definitely designed to adapt to stress, but there's only so much stress that we can respond to. There's definitely a threshold of stress for how much the body can actually tolerate. And when those three forms of stress, the chemical, physical, and emotional, start to pile up, it actually overwhelms our body and our brain, and we begin to lose the ability to adapt to the stress. And that's when we get stuck in that vicious cycle of stress, also known as sympathetic dominance. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about what sympathetic dominance is here in a minute, but to give you a little bit of background, first we need to kind of talk about what the nervous system is. And again, this is something that we always talk about on our webinars because we really believe how, the importance of the nervous system is huge, and it's really critical that you guys understand what the nervous system does. So the nervous system is the master control system in our body. It includes the brain, the spinal cord, and all the nerves that go out and control all of our, they coordinate and control every function in our body. It controls every organ, every gland, every cell, every tissue in your body is controlled by that nervous system. Your spine acts as the hard, bony armor that protects this intricate and delicate system. So again, the body it's designed to adapt to this stress, but it can only happen when the nervous system is in a state of balance. Once that nervous system becomes unbalanced, now the body, it starts to, do all these other things to deal with that stress that it's not necessarily designed to do. So the nervous system, again, and just to dive a little bit deeper on it, it has two modes, the sympathetic side and the parasympathetic side of the nervous system, otherwise known as the gas pedal side or the stress mode, that's the sympathetic side, and the brake pedal mode or relaxation mode, that's the parasympathetic side. So again, the parasympathetic side is rest and digest. That really helps to down-regulate our stress, and it helps to calm down that nervous system and provide some rest. The sympathetic side is known as the fight or flight mode, which does the exact opposite of the parasympathetic side. That really amplifies our stress. And when we get stuck here, your body remains in that sympathetic dominance mode, which the nervous system literally gets stuck operating in that fight or flight response. And the sympathetic nervous system is designed for that fight or flight response, but it's only supposed to be used during a true fight or flight stressful moment. So an example of that would be you're getting chased by a wild animal, or somebody cuts you off on the highway and you have to respond, or moments before you're about to do public speaking, like right before I get on these webinars, I'm in sympathetic mode because my body is stressed out, and it's designed to deal with that, but only in the short term, not the long term. So it isn't meant to tolerate sustained chronic stress, which is what most people I talk to with anxiety are experiencing. They're struggling with that long, sustained stress over time that's just so much stress on the system that they can't actually ever come out of that stress mode. So when that fight or flight mode gets stuck on, hey Alex, when that fight or flight mode gets stuck on, over time the body will rewire itself, and because of that information that it's getting from that nervous system. So it makes sense that the body's always feeling amped up and tense while also feeling exhausted. I mean, that is the definition of being anxious, and it's because that body's stuck in that fight or flight response. And so when we deal with the sustained chronic stress over time, not only is it rewiring your brain and your body for stress, but it also begins to place excess stress on the three areas of defense that our body has. So again, the first line of defense in our body is the nervous system. That is what is your body's designed to take in that stress, deal with that stress in whatever way it has to, and then, move on with its day. But if that gets overwhelmed, that nervous system is overwhelmed, now the next line of defense is the adrenal gland. So the adrenal glands are tiny little glands that sit on top of the kidneys, and those glands are responsible for releasing the stress hormones like adrenaline, cortisol. Anytime you experience the stress, those stresses could be positive or negative, those hormones are still released. So also the adrenal glands are responsible for regulating blood sugar and blood pressure, and producing other vital hormones that are crucial. The adrenals can also get overworked and burnt out, leading to adrenal fatigue. So adrenal fatigue is definitely like a buzzword right now in, just normal culture, I guess. It's something that we've been hearing more and more about recently because of all the amount of stress and anxiety that everybody's experiencing these days. I mean, we're being bombarded by stress and anxiety all the time. So a lot of people's nervous systems are so stressed out that they're actually getting fatigued because they can't deal with the stress anymore. And as a survival mechanism, once the nervous system can't respond to the stress anymore, then the adrenals get fatigued, so they can't respond to the stressors anymore. So then the next survival mechanism of your body is to call in the thyroid gland. So once the thyroid gland is called in to take over what the job of the nervous system is supposed to be doing, that's when, the thyroid gland, the primary role is to regulate hormones, regulate immune function, and metabolism. So a lot of common complaints that women that suffer from anxiety are experiencing are that they have irregular periods, heavy menstrual cycles, trouble getting pregnant, constantly sick, or having a hard time losing weight. So you can see how this all relates back to the thyroid gland and its inability to do the job that it's intended to, because it's still trying to pick up the slack from the adrenal gland, which the adrenal gland is trying to pick up the slack from the nervous system. So you can see how eventually this is just a continuous cycle that keeps going. It gets to a point too where the thyroid gland can't get it can't continue to do the job of every other system. So eventually the thyroid gland will get burnt out. And if we're not handling the root cause of the stress and anxiety to begin with, the adrenals are tired, the thyroid's tired, and now the last gland to come in, the third line of defense, is the pituitary gland. And really the pituitary gland it's like a master gland because it really works to stimulate all the other glands. When the other glands aren't working the way they're supposed to, pituitary gets called in and kind of gives them a little nudge and tells them, hey, you got to do this thing, you're not working right. That's in my head what it sounds like, but it's not whatever. Anyway, this is the vicious cycle that I was talking about earlier. So once the adrenals are fatigued, then the thyroid gets tired. Now the pituitary gland, it can only go for so long because again, it's doing a job that it's not really supposed to be doing. So that vicious cycle just continues, and your brain is interpreting that stress through the hypothalamus, which is telling the pituitary gland to pump out more hormones and increase cortisol from the adrenals, continuing this cycle over and over and over again. So I bet at this point, after I talked about all kinds of hormones and glands, you're probably wondering, why is a chiropractor talking about all these glands and hormones? Well, it all reverts back to the nervous system. So chiropractic adjustments are not only gentle, safe, and effective, but they directly influence the nervous system. And I mean, that's pretty cool. We actually just went to a conference recently and we learned about some new research that is coming out soon about chiropractic adjustments and how they are, changing neuroplasticity in the brain. I mean, that's huge, guys. It can directly influence the nervous system. That's awesome. Anyway, back to my point. Chiropractic adjustments are, again, safe, gentle, and effective, and directly influence the nervous system. And we definitely aim to treat the root cause of the stress and anxiety with those adjustments. And the nervous system, like I said before, is in control of those three lines of defense, meaning that when the nervous system is in a state of balance and it's not stuck in that fight or flight mode, those three lines of defense are working as they are meant to work. So with every adjustment, not only is the spine in better alignment so that you feel good in your body, but balance between those parasympathetic and sympathetic sides of your nervous system will soon be restored so that you're not stuck in that fight or flight mode. So I want to make something abundantly clear about anxiety and stress. We do not treat anxiety and we do not treat stress because really we're not treating any conditions. As chiropractors, we're really ensuring that the nervous system is in a state of balance and in a state of ease so that the stress doesn't get stuck in that vicious cycle. And as we allow the nervous system to calm itself down, we can actually start to regulate the stress, and that anxiety starts to go away and your body begins to feel better and you begin to have less stress overall, which is awesome. So if stress and anxiety is something that you deal with or your child deal with or a friend or someone else that you know, I want to let you know that there's an incredible offer to come into our office and get your nervous system checked and scanned. So something that we're doing that's pretty unique from all the other chiropractors that are around us is that we're using state-of-the-art technology that actually scans your nervous system. And this technology will tell me where your stress is. It will tell me where it's stuck in that system. It'll tell me how much of it you have, how long it's been there, and if chiropractic is going to help you handle that stress or not. So all those things are pretty awesome, pretty cool. And again, if you found this video helpful, please share. And if you have any comments or questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm so happy all of you guys joined us, and I hope you all have a wonderful Wednesday. And we'll catch you next week for our next webinar. Have a great night.